Hi everyone, it's Jill from Make It Pop Shop, and today I'm going to show you how to make two different types of fabric garlands. Let's go! I've assembled some things here to show you that you're going to need when you're making these garlands. I'm going to show you two different options, the tassel garland and the tie garland. But first, let's talk about what supplies you will need. You will need some jute, string, or ribbon, some sharp scissors, pinking shears or a pinking blade, which is optional, fabric. For the best results, use 2 or more patterns, and a ruler. Now let's talk a little bit about fabric and sizing. This fabric you see here is from a jelly roll, which can be found at places like Hobby Lobby. Things to consider before buying your fabric would be type of garland and how you want your garland to look. So these long pieces from the jelly roll are usually 2 to 3 inches wide by about 46 inches long. These are great for tassel garlands. Here's an example of a tassel garland that I'm currently making. So if you choose to go with a jelly roll, please note that you will have to cut down the size. Now, jelly rolls are rolled up like this, all combined together, and they have different patterns and colors inside of them, which is really great for diversifying your project. They're about $12.99 at Hobby Lobby, which is where I found this one. Another option would be to get quilting squares, or you can buy directly off the bolt. If you go to your local fabric store, you will see bolts of fabric that you can buy by the yard. You'll need about a half to 1 yard of fabric per color or pattern. That will give you plenty of extra to work with. You're going to want to cut your strips between 1 to 2 inches wide by 5 to 7 inches long. You're going to get a lot of strips from this yard of fabric. When you cut the strips, you can use a straight edge or you can use the zigzag pinking shears that we talked about earlier that were optional. If you've never seen what a pinking shear does, let me show you. Traditionally, pinking shears are used to finish the edge of the fabric so it doesn't fray, which is another great idea for your garland. But it also has a really cool look to it. This is what it looks like. Although this looks very nice, it's ultimately personal preference. Pinking shears are not necessary to complete this project. I'm going to use the jelly roll strips for this example because I already have them cut. I'm taking some thin gauged jute that I found at the dollar store, but you can use other things as well, like thick jute like this, or even ribbon. I prefer to use the thin jute. I like the way it handles and I can keep my knots a lot smaller. This is personal preference as well. I like to take my jute and make a knot with a loop at the end. I use that to secure it while I'm making my garland. So what you're going to do is double over the jute and then make a knot, pulling the end through the loop. And then go ahead and pull it tight. This can be used to fasten it to whatever place you're going to display your garland, or it also helps when you're trying to tie your fabric pieces to a taut string. Once you have your knot tied and your string is secure, go ahead and pull out a piece of your fabric. We are going to look at option 1, the tassel garland. Start by folding over your fabric. Then you're going to take the tails or the ends of your fabric and you're going to pull them through the loop. Pull the extra fabric to tighten the knot. You can go as tight or as loose as you want. That's personal preference. Once you've secured your fabric, you can go ahead and move it down the string and repeat the process. You're going to alternate your patterns and your colors to your liking. Something you'll want to think about is how you're tying the tassels. Watch the direction that you're adding the strips. Whatever direction that you tie your tassel, just be consistent and tie it that way every time. This will give you a nice uniform look. If you're not sure if you tied it correctly, you can tell the difference between the knots. And then if you mess up, you can just pull it right out and retie it again. Okay, now that you've learned to tie, now it's time to get to work and start tying. Repeat this process until you've gotten to the desired length and density of your fabric garland. Here's an example of one of the garlands that I'm working on. When I'm done tying my fabric, I like to add other embellishments like additional jute or rickrack or ribbon. This will give the garland more dimension. Now let's move on to option 2, the tie garland. The cool thing about the tie garland is that the strips will determine the size and or diameter of the garland. The garland you see here was made with just over 1 inch wide by 5 inch long fabric strips. Since the strip is 5 inches, that means that your diameter will be about 5 inches. Taking into consideration the knot, you will have almost 2.5 inches on one side of the string and then 2.5 inches on the other side of the string. For this example, I'm going to use the jellyroll fabric strips again. Remember, jellyroll strips are about 2.5 to 3 inches wide by 46 inches long. We can't use that size for a tie garland, so I'm going to cut them down. I started by cutting them in half. Then I took each piece and I cut about 5-inch long strips. I was left with a little bit of a smaller piece, so you can either use that or you can discard it. Remember, when you're cutting your lengths, that will determine the diameter of your garland. There is no hard or fast rule. The width is really your personal preference. The thinner strips are easier to tie though, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to cut my strips in half so they're even thinner, which gave me about 1 1/4 inch thick strips. Once again, it's time to secure your string so that you can start to tie. Take one piece and tie it around the string. The only thing you need to know about this is to make sure that each side of the ribbon is the same in length so that your garland is equal on both sides. You're just going to knot it with a normal knot. You don't even have to tie it twice. Just make sure that when you tie it, it's even on both ends. Now just continue to repeat the process, alternating your patterns and colors like the other banner. While you're tying your pieces, remember to adjust them and push them together so that your banner starts to look full. Once you have all your ties added and it's as full as you like, if you want, you can start adding other embellishments. Remember, you can use ribbon, burlap, rickrack. Sky's the limit. I use this burlap ribbon that's really cool. I cut it in half and I put pieces throughout my garland. You can also use other ribbons. I use this shiny ribbon. It's a very eye-catching material. I just love the way it turned out. You don't have to put a lot in it. Just stagger a couple pieces throughout and it'll really make your garland pop. I really love how this turned out. I can't wait to see how yours turns out. This was so much fun. Let's connect. We're on Instagram at makeitpopshop_DIY or join our free Facebook group at Make It Pop Shop Classes and DIY Kits. Thanks for watching.